Hello and welcome to another FAQ Monday. I am your host, Fluff. If you have a question, feel free to leave them on down in the comments or go on over to my Twitter and ask me there, because Twitter is a lovely place, kind of, sort of, every once in a while. How would one go about starting a band? What's your advice, and do you have any tips about working towards its success? Coffee fiend. I'm a coffee fiend too. Great question. Starting a band is both difficult and time consuming. I would utilize all of the social media platforms and really put the word out there. However, I would actually work on songs first, because I mean, you can want to get a band together all day long, and if you all get together, if you have nothing to play, what's the point? Meaning, like, you know, when Rest Repose started, I had a batch of songs. So it was like, okay, we have to start somewhere, so let's learn these song ideas. And then we kind of built it up from there. So honestly, I would write some songs first. And then when you feel like it's time, then put the word out there like, hey, you know, I wanna turn this into a thing. Anybody know anybody? Word of mouth is also an extremely powerful way to find all sorts of things, including band members and amplifiers and guitars and cool movies to watch, etc., etc. So really, social media platforms, writing songs. And as to working towards its success, I'm having a hard time talking today. You know, good songs, write good songs and everything will come. Also, you know, be prepared to work your ass off. Honestly, that's what will differentiate 95% of bands that don't make it versus the 5% that do, is if you're willing to really rough it, you know, chances are you'll probably go pretty far. Thoughts on headless guitars? Professional sad boy. Great question. Headless guitars have their place in the guitar community, certainly. They're ergonomic, typically. And most of the time, they're not for me. I will say, a good buddy of mine, Jason, has a Strandberg Bowden that is incredible. Visually for me, I think is where I have the problem with a headstockless guitar. I'm like, you know, I want to look up to, and there's nothing there. It weirds me out. I'm too old for that kind of thing. I don't know. Honestly, I also don't really like light guitars, and I think typically, you know, going into the whole ergonomic thing and streamlinedness of a headstock or of a headless guitar, you know, paperweight guitars for me, you know, that are as light as a feather. I don't know, man. That's not my thing. I need some weight. I need some heft to my guitars. That's a personal preference of mine. Yeah, headless guitars just really aren't for me personally. However, obviously, as always, whatever works for you, do it. But, you know, headless guitars, not really for me. I need speakers for the 212 I just got with an orange CR120. Do the brand or type of speakers really matter? Matt, yes. In fact, I would argue that your speakers, your speaker type, and make and model will be the overall determining factor in how your tone sounds. They're really, you know, they're really the tires of your car, kind of, right? Often not given enough attention, but really a critical element of your sound, because that's where the sound comes from. So without speakers, you got nothing. Changing speaker types along with cabs, but you know, even if you have the same cab, changing speaker types will wildly change your guitar tone potentially, more so than changing the guitar or even the amp for that matter in a lot of cases. But I digress. You know, I would say, yes, your speakers and your speaker type do matter a great deal, and give it some thought. Go ask some people what they like with that head, etc., etc. You do have to start somewhere though, but I would start with like a vintage 30 or something like that, or maybe a creamback, something a little smoother with the CR120. But honestly, you know, the sky is the limit for speaker types these days. Is there a way I can play tube amps without needing a cab? McChurch 118. Yes, there are options for playing a tube amp without a cab. Now, what you're looking for is basically a load box. Now, back in the old days, all they mainly did was attenuate, but now There's a lot of options as far as the digital impulse loaders / attenuators / whatever bells and whistles any company is putting into those things. But the basic premise is you plug your tube amp head into something like this universal audio aux box, or a 2 Notes Torpedo Live, or a Capture X, also from 2 Notes. Boss makes the tube amp expander, the Wazacraft tube amp expander. Sir makes a load box. I mean, there's all sorts of options now depending on your individual needs. And often, you know, amps like the Rev Generator Mark III 100R that I have right here have all that built in. So you can go straight to your interface and not even need a speaker cab for the amp, which is super, super cool. But what you are looking for is basically a digital impulse loader and or load box / attenuator. Yeah, that's a big, very big rabbit hole that I have covered extensively on this channel. Just do some digging around, but that is generally what you're looking for. What do you do with your dog when you are on tour? Drew, that question I have never actually been asked before. So kudos to you for asking me a question I have never been asked. My lovely girlfriend, Ashley, generally watches my dog, although we recently got a new dog. We got Juniper. So we have Gus, and then we have Juniper. Juniper loves Gus. Gus is a cranky 13-year-old old man. He doesn't like Juniper. So when I go on tour, like, they'll tolerate each other, but generally speaking, Gus spends most of his day in here in the studio sleeping on his bed, and he doesn't want nothing to do with no high energy 8-month-old. He's not trying to have any of that stuff. He's not trying to play with toys or anything. So generally speaking, all he does is sleep. So really taking care of him is not that hard. But my lovely girlfriend, Ashley, hi honey, I love you, will be home taking care of our dogs while I'm gone on tour. Hopefully Junie doesn't forget about me. Honestly, I'm gonna be gone for like 6 weeks on the Bear 2 tour. So yeah, she may forget about me, I don't know. Can you rank the big 4 modelers, Axe-Fx, Helix, Kemper, and Quad Cortex in the order of which feels best to you? Or do you feel that they're all pretty much equal? Brian, great question. So I will asterisk this ahead of time because the Quad Cortex is the newest processor, has the latest technology compared to all the rest of the hardware listed, right? Helix is over 5 years old. Kemper is 7 years old, 8 years old. Axe-Fx, you know, I guess the Axe-Fx 3 came out 2 years ago. But my point is, comparing new hardware to old hardware is not really fair. However, I will rank them. To me, the Quad Cortex feels the same as a Fractal Axe-Fx, which is my favorite feeling modeler. And I know a lot of people are gonna be upset by that. However, you know, the Quad Cortex is a wonderful sounding tool. It's awesome. And it has a lot of features cherry-picked from the various other modelers, you know, capturing with like the Kemper does. It has the UI of the Helix. It has the feel and sound of a Fractal Axe-Fx. Now, is it some life-changing thing that's like the next generation? Oh my God. No, it's not. It's an amazing sounding unit and I love it. But is it worlds different? Like, would you plug into a Quad Cortex versus a Fractal and go, oh wow, oh this is not even the same, bro? No, you wouldn't. You literally wouldn't. However, I will rank Axe-Fx and Quad Cortex as tied. Followed by the Helix, followed by the Kemper. The Kemper doesn't have feel, in my opinion. That's just my opinion, Kemper guys. Don't get super offended. The problem with the Kemper is it does sacrifice feel for sound quality and accuracy when you're capturing. I mean, that's its whole thing. Now, I will preface this by saying I haven't plugged into a Kemper in like 4 years. So maybe lots of things have changed, but as far as like being able to replicate the amplifier it captured, no, it doesn't do that. How could it? Nor would I expect it to. Just saying, I'm saying all sorts of controversial things today. Controversy pants, that's me. Anyway, that's how I would rank those, but that's just me. And that does it for this episode of FAQ Monday. If you have a question, feel free to leave them on down below in the comments. Go check out my new guitar course with Pro Mix Academy. And yeah, just all the fun things are down in the links below. Thank you so much. You've been wonderful. I've been Fluff. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. If you liked the video you just watched, please consider subscribing. And if you want to further support me and what I do, consider using some of the affiliate links down below in the description of this video. Go on over to Sweetwater, buy yourself something, and help me out at the same time. It's a win-win for both of us.